morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unc and Market Monk. Morning, P. How's your week?
That was really good. A lot of things early in the week off of pivots for me. Still a rinse and repeat on some solar, and then oil hit pretty large to end the week. So yeah, just really good there. A couple good ones in the casino too. RH in particular. So yeah, great week for me.
Nice. Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't mention play, but anytime you get a stock that's you're very familiar with, and you see the range, and you get that range in a couple months,
Yeah, yeah,
is great. I mean, over 50%, and um, sure we'll discuss that at some point today, just to see where we're
yeah.
going there, because there's definitely more on the table if you just look at what it did last time. And I'm with you on oil. Oil was great. Um, the some of the material plays kind of had a little run in the middle of the week too, so those were good. And also solar as well. It shows that it's got to kind of like, I don't know if it's a little bit of use the work and give yourself some time, but just where we've been. And most sectors, if you pick two or three, you usually do okay in the sector. And that's why I always like try to approach a list. Solar's a good example. If there's five or so that we have, five would be a small number in a sector for us.
Yeah.
It's usually more like 20. But when you have five, for the sake of an example here, um, I always try to find the one I think is a home run, the one I think is crap, and then the two that are going to do well, and the one that's going to be flat. I kind of try to like. That's why I always ask you for your rank, your quick rank, because it's kind of how I look at it. And then
Yeah.
you be a little critical within the charts and which ones offer the best range. I mean, you don't go to the supermarket and just grab. When you're in the let me back that up. When you're in your early 20s, you don't go in the supermarket and just grab whatever. You get the best price
Yeah.
on the best beer you can when you're in there, and take it
Yeah.
back to the
Right.
party. And it's just kind of how you gotta treat some of these sector reads that Professor gets. And um, again, it's caught between that and use the work and give yourself a little time. But yeah, I don't understand how people don't like this market currently. It's not that it's making you a millionaire, but it's pretty easy to directionally trade. So
Yeah, it is on solar. Solar's thinned out. A couple companies went under, and you basically you do have First Solar, kind of your big blue chip, and it on most days is going to give you that uh, 1, 2, 3% move, kind of perfect for the option combo kind of trade. Enphase, you didn't like Enphase for a long time, but it did hit your one of the spots that you talked about, like a break under 40 per minute, and I just been adding in the low 40s, and it hit 45 or so. Still see a lot of potential there, but you still have to kind of trim and manage that one, and then runs the easiest one, and that was what we said for weeks, and I was on board with that. That I thought run was the easy one, and then we had the read on the ETF. So yeah, it was yeah, I read it like I do pretty much any sector, but you're right, the the dynamics are a little different, and um you don't get kind of like a up and coming solar stock. It's not like quantum or something like that where um it's this hot sector. It's really very much oversold, and just those percentages to get back to that a neutral spot are really what you're after. As far as the market goes, I think part of the frustration people have is something we've talked about, is the best move being overnight, and then sort of having to guess which way that's going to be. I mean, a lot of the nights it does gap up a little, but then you have something like Friday, and there's people that the way that they trade, one bad day will absolutely wipe out 4 good days, and that's just how they do things, because they see they're green on something, so they want to make sure they stay green on it and take profit. But a loss crosses this threshold for them in options where it's like, okay, well, I'm already down 50, 60% on this option. I might as well see if it's going to recover. And they tend not to. So we talk about more room above and below all the time. Well, if your room below is 100%, your room above is 20 to 50%. That's not going to work out for you in the long run. So I
No,
think a
that's
lot of people
horrible.
are running into that.
That's
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah,
Trade
right.
shares.
Yeah.
I just want to tell everyone. I tell everyone to trade shares. So trade shares
Um,
if that's the case.
yeah. Well, I that's honestly what my thinking when I start to get these questions about kind of options. If you're hinting at or telling me like these options are just kind of too expensive, is it possible to trade this setup more cheaply? Like if I go further out, go more out of the money, um, can I catch the same move? Possibly. I would tend not to try to do that. I mean, I'm very specific about what I contracts I post in Flow and sort of what I think it means. But if you're worried about that, if you're worried about paying $800 for an option contract, then buy $800 worth of shares. I'm posting that I think this is going to have some upside to it. So get your 8 to 15% off your shares, and don't worry about it. I That's really all I can say. I mean, you cannot trying to save money trading options is how you get these guys buying them for $12. There's a reason it's so cheap, and you don't really uh, want to mess with that. And to trade them to set up safely is expensive, and if you don't want to do that, then shares, there's much less stress there, and it's just much easier.
I think. Well, first thing I thought of. Seen a post on Twitter where they listed. I think maybe 5 contracts. I think it was just for the following day, and they're pretty specific on what contracts and price point and everything. But really seemed like the criteria, or one of the criteria, was the price point being under like 85 cents on the contract.
Yeah.
And it just,
Yep.
yeah, it stood out. I mean, it's starting to stand out to me like sore thumb. Like that's just a signal to run away. Or I mean, it would probably come upon something you're not familiar with, that's a reasonable contract to be buying, because it's going to be something smaller. But if
Yeah.
you're not buying like Spy and Nvidia and you know MSTR and Costco and Deere contracts for $85, it's just not gonna happen. Like there's no way to make
No.
money doing
No.
that. It's not gonna happen. So I just get people got to get that out of your head. And taking repeated swings. Um, it's kind of good baseball golf analogy. Golf, I get, well, if you're bad, you get over 90 swings a game. If you're
Yep.
playing
Yeah.
baseball, you're lucky to get 4 or 5 at bats. And shares, I think, make you trade a little bit more, keep you in the game. And the only big difference, I think, when the market goes south for sure, and it's just really high volatility. The options might be comparable or as good as shares, um, because those are the times where you kind of have to slow down in share trading, or turn it off a little bit, um,
Yeah.
because you need the direction. But that's the only big difference is you need that finesse. And um, that I don't know. We've been in such a great environment over the last probably 18 months that that hasn't really been an issue. But um, yeah, like you said, take that I think you said 6 to 15% or 8 to 15%. Man,
Yeah, yeah.
currently it's like 25.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
and
Right.
and that's what if you can see that a little clearer, I think
Yeah.
that opens your eyes to it, and you don't see that on the minute chart. Let's just put it that way.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm totally with you there. So, wanted to get your thoughts a little on before I get into the sectors. Uh, Thursday to Friday. So, it was obviously
Well, they,
rumored that
yeah, they knew.
the Middle East stuff was gonna pop off, and then it did, and the market reacted to it. Oil, uh, obviously was in a good spot, and just needed an excuse. It's sort of misperception to think like, well, you know, they bombed this refinery, so oil stocks are going off. It's more just about it's kind of the narrative and the potential of what it could mean and all that, and just where the charts were, when that happened. But so Nasdaq or Bitcoin or whatever, the more risk on kind of assets uh, had to move down, and then recovered throughout the day, went down again, but not really past the that pre-market low. And so I wanted to get kind of your read on that, because you made a comment that we didn't have as much downside as I thought we were going to, and yeah, so there's the Thursday overnight, Friday recovery, and then back down. But just tell me your what motivated that comment, and sort of what you saw instead on the Thursday Friday move.
Well, I just in general, they know they knew. I mean, you could tell that with the pre-market moves down. There's just not a lot. I mean, people just got positioned to tack. If you, I mean, I can speak from experience. If you sell now and you're a big person, you're gonna take a pretty hefty tax hit. If you're up 6%
Yeah.
on $30 million, that's a big number. And
Right.
so I mean, there's a little bit of that from the big fish. Retail just got their chain back, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a golfer. We all know I plays golf with the old guys, and they know what I do. I mean, you play 4 hours with people. They ask questions occasionally, and when they woke up 20-30% down, whenever they woke up and figured that out, they were asking questions, and they got all that back. So they're not making any moves. Um,
Yeah.
I did have a note that the oil war kind of short term bullish for oil, because the market's going to look past anything. Like if something's happening today and the market is thinking about December right now, it don't give a
Yeah.
fuck about that unless it's gonna still be happening in December and it just didn't have that feel. So I mean, you do get the initial news pullback, but they're just not sellers. We're in an uptrend. We're in a bullish market. Gonna take a lot to turn it around. April was more just repositioning and profit taking. If when we go back and look at this long term, I mean, people are going to blame it on tariffs, but I think it was more what you just get in April. Um,
Yeah.
so getting back through the 50, I think was my comment. We just had volume P flip on the 1 year. Got these people out there in fucking um, X land or Twitter land are going to be like, what is he talking about? Voice chat knows though. But 599.26 just flipped on the 1 year. So I mean, you got people buying at 600. That's the majority of the shares traded on the year. P are traded around 600. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't see us again testing that 50. It's short term news. Um, or I think we get more of a sell off because again they knew. I mean, the market dropped before we kind of knew what was going on, and then you see it
Yeah.
over the weekend. So I mean, if it was really something serious, or they probably would the big fish would have probably sold a little more. Um, yeah, just the market has no appetite for that right now. So
Yeah.
don't you don't swim upstream. You just
Right.
don't.
I look at and I kind of like I like the 15-minute chart. Never used to look at it, but
I like it.
I like it a lot because I just see, that initial candle down, when pre-market opened. Obviously it was futures dictated that and everything. But that wicked out pretty hard, and then you never really even approach that again. And then even the RSI on the day stayed in the purple box here. That 30 to 70. Nothing really dramatic to break that out or break that down. And yeah, to your zero DTE gambler, there's a lot of drama here. And you're on the right side of this, and you take your $12 contract, and it goes to $40, and you can post about percentages, but ultimately this didn't amount to a lot, and so again, the best move is overnight thing, and then you're just sort of in a range for the day.
Hmm.
um that's been very common. The um i mean a big thing to me out of all this was that all that defense flow I posted weeks ago.
Oh, sure.
That's a good old fashioned front load of people who knew this was coming. So
Yeah, sure.
just again, that's kind of a little bit of a confirmation of the work. I think KTOS was the one I had mentioned that I posted a good entry on this months ago. This was kind of a some follow through on that. I said, like, well, I know what Unk's going to say about this one, but then you actually liked it, so that was kind of some. I actually bought more when you said that, and then it had the big follow through. It's kind of a smaller defense stock, so I'll throw that name at people.
Well,
But
you get to know the setups after a while.
yeah, right. And so this one was in that I think like 36 area or something, and then had this break of 40. But yeah, a lot of it is has just been kind of a confirmation of the work, and I was just really pleased. I mean, I don't want to be callous about what's going on with missiles falling or whatever, but just that the read on oil, like, it's just like I see it, and it has that follow through, and so again, like, it just sort of, not that we even need it at this point, but that proof of concept, as we continue to work and refine things,
it,
really was pretty good.
that's funny because I'm over here like a little critical. Like, yeah, we had the oil and the defense, and but we didn't do a good job putting a story together that Iran was gonna get bombed. Like that didn't happen. So load
Yeah.
this, but definitely understanding where the money is. I mean, it's a good example for people that are like, well, how do they know this or that? Well, look in retrospect, that's okay, if this is going to happen, it makes sense why people are loading up on these names. But that wasn't an easy story to predict, at
No, no,
all.
and
At all. But
it's why I call.
definitely
That's why.
it makes sense now though, to me, where
Yeah,
at the time it was
yeah.
kind of like, why are we loading, we're supposed to not be going to war, why are we loading up on this? And I'm thankful that Boeing was responsive because I was in that, but the rest of them I
Yeah.
kind of missed the sector on that. So
Yeah, and uh, you know, Lockheed Martin had like and I saw secondary get them, like, it sort of
yeah,
had the
yeah, you did.
big drop on, I guess, on news, and then it was right by a pivot, and then just completely went nuts the other direction. And yeah, with oil, I posted to you. I'm like, well, we're hitting some July and August targets tonight. So yeah, my read on oil was more of a grind. And but you have a load zone. I want the oil here, and then
Yeah, you just buy it.
to get, yeah, then you buy it, and then it's pretty easy. You just decide when to sell. But X was the same way with their news. I even had a guy on Twitter like, you couldn't have possibly known that they do
Oh,
news
sure.
like this or whatever. And it's like, well, okay, yeah, you're right, but I also, we have this TA set up on it, and had this flow on it that oh look, all that stuff I posted's in the money now. So
Well, we can
um,
you can mention stuff like lift and play recently. Like this is not the
yeah,
first time we've seen the flow loaded and had it kind of understood the story. I mean, the second time you see the same thing happen, you really don't need the story because you understand what they're doing and there's something coming.
yeah.
And
Well,
I think that's what happened with oil. I mean, you were pretty
yeah,
adamant on oil enough that I kind of spread my load over the sector in that regard because you know again if there's five names, which there's more than five, you try to find the best three or four and spread some money across those. And you were pounding the table on oil for weeks. Um,
yeah, yeah. And well, as far as the front loads go, Sats, I
yeah,
had to
that
look
too.
up
Yeah, yeah.
what they even do, and they go up 50% after hours on on news. So yeah, there are a lot. A part of our work is like that, and then there's something like quantum computing had
God,
a little more
for a year.
knowledge of the story and kind of the roadmap of the story when we got in early um, on those. But still, I mean, it's flow first, and then the TA's there. Your TA first. The flow's got to be there, and the market loves stories, so you try to figure out the story as best you can. It kind of can help with the timing or how long to stay in something. Which before I get to the boring stuff, I will say that how long should I stay in this winter reread is I, probably my least favorite thing to do, because I'm having to look. I'm looking up a stock. It hasn't been on my radar in a while, and I'm trying to give a fresh read on it. And if the question were should I buy it here, it's going to be no. The question is should I keep it here? It just gets into a little more of a gray area. I don't know like what your situation is or what you want to do with that money when you do sell it. I would tend to say that for ones like that, something fresh is probably better most of the time. So it's is this still good? Is definitely the hardest question to answer, at least for me.
Damn, you hate my list this week.
I said with you it's a little different because there's a the reason you're
Oh,
doing
you
it
mean
is
like just a
because of
random question?
where it is on the chart. It's not like, hey, I made $500 on this. Can I make
Yeah,
$700 now?
yeah.
If the reason is has to do with the price and the chart, then that's a different story. If the reason is just like, um, I won, should I be greedy? That's tougher.
No, we're completing channels, so we gotta see what's up.
Yeah, yeah,
um, yeah, let's wait, I have one more. Oh yeah, this kind of goes off of that a little bit. What you're saying, um, and I don't do a good job explaining. I just kind of tell people this is what I'm doing. I mean, because for me, if you got a good entry, I appreciate you that you managed your trade that far. But like a few weeks ago, Bud came up um,
yeah.
at 60, and people were like, "You hold," and it was that exact same like conversation. I forgot who I had it with in the room, but they're like, "You're not selling," and I'm like, "No." God no,
Yeah.
and where I
Right.
bought this at, and they're like, "Well, are you buying?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not buying either." Um,
Yeah.
so it's exactly what you're talking about with Budweiser, but um, the note I had is a stock like Budweiser that we got down in the like 40 45 or excuse me 43 to 48 range, and it's fucking Budweiser. It's fucking
Yeah.
Budweiser. Like
Right.
it's the king of beers. I
Yeah.
mean, it's. I mean, if there is such thing as a generational entry or whatever, like that was it for that stock. Um,
Yeah.
so the plant, I mean, that's a gym. That's a gym mint 10. Like it doesn't happen all the time, and there's a lot of stocks that you just have to have that target. Like this is where I'm trading it to. Um,
Yeah.
for several reasons. One, the big one is so you can trade it again, but for two is so you don't get washed around or caught up in the story because it's not. If I don't want to get long winded here, but if you go back to what I've said about why companies are traded, like if the company was that good, it wouldn't be public. They need your
Right.
money, they need the shares. They basically are loaning their company out. So like they're yeah, they're takes money to make money. They're using you. The long story short on that, but um, like so if we get into like we're in that EOSE right now, or even BBAI, you just got to take your money and trade it again. It's not Budweiser.
Yeah.
It's just not
Right.
Budweiser.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Right.
I mean that's a bit. So the $500 thing you say just makes me fucking livid. Like take your $500, trade the chart,
Right.
trade the chart.
Yeah.
Take your 500.
Yeah.
Just take half of it, and put a stop loss somewhere where you're comfortable and not thinking at night, and move on with that other half. And I don't something like that. But if you want to be a long term investor, like talk from that angle, but don't turn a day trade into a swing trade into an investment. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Do not do it. Um, Go the other way. If you buy an investment and it happens to go up in the same day, turn that investment into a day trade. You're better off doing that.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, so I
Unless it's Hims. Sorry.
yeah, there you go. Getting into the some of the
Boring.
boring stuff.
Let me switch
Um,
screens here.
I mean,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can start with gold. I mean, obviously, I don't think you add gold when it's pushing $3,500. But again, this is just a confirmation of the move we talk about retesting a high. Just gold doing its thing. I mean, there are some minors here and there. I still think go down to this one, silver. At the move to 36, I talk about a lot, and I've been thinking that we do get a breakout, but you might pull back here and consolidate a bit, get at a higher low in the 35.50 area or something. But there's still a lot there, and there's still, I mean, the flow setup is sort of September, January for silver stocks. So this still we're basically we're in the midst of what we talked about, and kind of the first step of this secondary move on it is how I read it.
Yeah, gold is definitely a sector where you just take the percentage at this point. If you find a chart
Yeah.
midweek somewhere, I don't know. Um, and then silver, yeah, I'm with you. Uh, Killer entries. A lot of the names still haven't really moved, so still have a lot of range there. If they're gonna match what the gold charts look like, the silver still have a lot of range.
Yeah. And copper remains very healthy up in this this kind of consolidation above 450. It's not even really testing 450. So if this is going to be in this 460 to 470 area, then it's setting up to break out at 5. And I still think that $5 to $7 is the move that you'll see on copper. And and same story there. You're waiting for the big infrastructure spending and everything that copper has to say about that. The one thing that this chart is not saying that recession, so
Yeah,
it hasn't said recession. It had the kind of the violent flash crash, like a lot of things did, but you just didn't get any real follow through on that. What you would not want, you don't want like a big slow bleed out on this chart, but I don't really see any signs of that.
yeah, no, like it. We're waiting there. It's kind of a slow simmer sector, but you gotta pay
Yep.
attention to it. It covers so much. So
And oil obviously had this fat candle here, and
Jesus.
just it does that. Could probably consolidate in the 68 to 72 area, or news can push this to low 80s, 80, 84, 85. That was sort of my kind of revised thought on oil a few weeks ago. I don't see some breakout of $100 oil or anything like that. But it's happened before, so I don't know. My thing is love the entries I had on oil. Sold one I'm going to sell for now, and still just think some opportunities will pop up, especially in smalls here and there.
Yeah, the talking heads on TV got some big numbers on the fear side of oil. So
Yeah,
it'll be in the news.
yeah, and this is the environment where I mean you saw it with HUSA, but like your Next and some of those, you can get a 50% move out of some small cap oil. I'll just say that. So
You
I
know,
think we got some good spots on those.
you know the name of that passage without me having to look it up real quick that they talk about shutting down over there.
Oh,
It's like the God, what's it called?
um,
Hormez, Hormaz.
yeah, that's it. That's it. Yep.
Yeah, get used to that name. It's gonna be. It's when they want to bring in fear. That's what they're gonna say.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's see, the 10 year still no big deal. Just again, you want this to kind of be sort of calm, uh, and it's it is. I mean, you'll get your 1% directional moves or whatever, but you just don't want a couple of weeks where this thing just skyrockets like you had with yeah, that in October, and then of course the move with the recent downturn in the market. But yeah, you don't want chaos in this one. And there's a lot you could do with bonds if you want to get more technical with it. I tend not to. I just keep an eye on this one, and it sort of it kind of lets me know if we're in the pop and fade territory, which as an options trader I'm very mindful of. So that's why I look at that one.
What's like 410, 415 do for the market, in your opinion? And does it? And sorry, to put you on the spot
Well,
here. And sorry, to put you on the spot, but does it
I
affect
don't know,
rate cuts?
it depends on how we get to it. Like, so if we move to it very quickly, and you're looking at like a 10% drop in SPY or something like that. The rate cut thing, I mean, if it spikes, I think
You get the cut.
that's where the rate cut pressure will come in.
So if we get like a similar to April move back down to 410 area, the market's going to drop 10% and rate cuts might be off the table.
Yes,
There you go.
that's what I think.
That's what I was trying to get out of you. There we go.
Yeah,
Perfect.
and uranium, I still just kind of looking for what's next here. A lot of those flow setups are still very very bullish. So when this consolidation ends, you'll see this pop up to the mid 70s somewhere. Again, of all futures charts, it's the one you can't follow it day to day. Find a wick for me on this thing. You're not going to find one. So you don't get that. You're just after the fact they just tell you what happened, because it's obviously very uh, secretive and um, hard to get and all that. But all right, so then Bitcoin.
Oh,
I
hey, on uranium, I'm a firm, and if you think different, say it.
Yeah.
Um, the suppliers, the use are the
Mhm.
long term play, but short term the hopeful uranium or the hopeful and nuclear names are probably better. Um,
Oh yeah, especially if you can catch them on a
on a
bad
pullback.
pre-market.
Yeah,
If they get
that's
yeah, if they get caught up in it's Nasdaq SPY drop and Oklo's down 8% or something, and it absolutely is probably going to come back during the day, and then more importantly, it's to me is that I like to see how the flow responds to a big red overnight move, and then I just see the flow come in, and they're either like kind of doubling down or setting up something new. So yeah, totally with you there.
perfect.
And then Bitcoin. I mentioned that with a night like Thursday, um, back in the old days, Bitcoin would have dropped 15% on that. Um, there's just too much big money in it now for it to make moves like that. Typically, that'll be very rare. So it's getting a little boring, and I still I think the 120 132 is kind of my high end. I think we are still maybe setting up for that. It's been over 100,000 for quite a while now. So I guess that consolidation is pretty good. Still for me though, it's I only trade big names off the pivots for now. The entry on the miners was back when it was like 80K, so I don't really mess with trying to re-enter those.
Um, I think I said 120 last week, and you were a little higher. That 132, I think you keep mentioning.
Yeah.
When we
Yep.
started this story, I said the 95 or 100 psych kind of consolidation is what we need, and we're getting that. Um, and we're going to probably continue to get that. So I'm going to be right there, but I'm starting to lean, if this consolidation is at 105 and me adding the gas rates also into that, trying to start doing that a little bit. Professor's number is probably going to be the one that hits, not mine. But I think we could have. I mean, if you want this move to be sustainable, you're probably going to be here for another month, maybe two.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
absolutely. And
I'm with you on the bigger names are going to create stability, which is going to create less range in the actual Bitcoin, which is probably going to kill a lot of traders that just trade off Bitcoin price. So you're going to have to trade off pivots, like you're saying, and in names that
yeah.
actually have some substance to them. You've done a great job separating those for over 2 years now. Which ones are going to be the names you want? So,
Yeah.
um, yeah.
Yeah, and this was I mean MSTR has been the one for me. This 370 spot um several times now, and the best trades off of it have been aggressive flushes below. But even just when it kind of thinks about thinks about hitting that, and it bounces pretty hard. So for an options trader, it's about as good as it gets. And you just keep your goals modest, because and this is a good example of where I look at this. This is much better options for options than shares. I mean, you're talking like you're going to take shares at 370 and sell them at 380
That's no.
this many times. It's not really worth your time to do that. So, but options, yes. I mean, you'll get 30, 50, 60% on your trades. And again, the leave a runner thing. I don't know how a lot of people define it. For me, if I'm leaving a runner, it means that I had at least 5 contracts going into it, probably 8 or 10, and then I literally just leave one, and just not looking to take it to zero. So, but I'll give it a lot of room and see if we catch a bigger move to the upside. But I don't think you don't buy two and leave a runner. That doesn't make sense to me, because if once you sell the first one, it's way too easy to wipe out the profit on the whole thing by leaving a runner. So that makes no sense to me.
I used to say if you have a runner, it needs to be running. I used to like
Yeah,
that
right.
line. I
Exactly.
like
Yes,
that line.
that too.
That's a good one. I mean, why keep one to watch it bleed out after? Yay, we won.
Right.
Throw
Yeah.
some back in. Like that make no sense.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. You wanna get to spy?
Oh, can I ask one Bitcoin question, and we'll
Oh,
do
yeah.
that.
Sure.
More MSTR than Coin lately? Because you used to live on Coin.
Yeah. Well, I think for trades, MSTR has been um more reliable than this 250 pivot has been.
Okay.
And I because I have this 220 pivot below, my strategy on coin has been less to less to trade, and just
More
to
to
say
own.
I want an average under 250. I hope it gets closer to 220, because I'm just going to keep adding it in this entire zone, and then look for to scale out on the breakout from there. That's been the deal with coin.
Yeah, I did that. I did exactly what you just said, up from 165 to where we are now. It's just holding up
Yeah.
well. It's more of an investment stock, but
Oh yeah. No, I right. And it's one. I mean, MSTR, their whole thing is just owning a lot of Bitcoin, but uh, coin with the crypto services and banking and that kind of thing. To me could be like a $400 stock. I think 320 to 350 is kind of what I have in mind from here. But again, yeah, it could be a $400 stock,
oh yeah,
500,
we
something like
agree
that.
on
So
that one. No, we
yeah,
agree on 400, especially if things get government centralized in any regard and they're used. It's over.
yeah, and they're in pretty tight with the government at the moment. I don't know if you saw the military parade brought to you by Coinbase was on the the signs next to the army logo. So
Oh man, with the left and the right doing their thing yesterday, I put my phone down and just went outside. My yard looks real
yeah,
nice.
yeah,
My
right,
yard
right.
looks real nice. It's been nice out here, so I was like, I'm just gonna do the whole yard today. About 6:30
Yeah,
last night, I went out and played golf for 3 hours. There's no one on the course. Yeah, we didn't. Nope, nope,
right.
not it, not it. I did see that shit. We didn't touch base on it, but I did see that shit about the senators in Minnesota. I did see that. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, no,
That's fucking
yeah,
nuts.
that's it is. And you just crazy times as
Yeah,
far as
it's
that
getting there.
goes, and it's a type of political violence that is not really typical in the U.S. Very kind of Eastern European kind of thing is going on, or
Yeah, yeah,
African,
yeah.
South American.
Well, I
Yeah,
never thought I would see a modern day Jack Ruby, so to speak. You know what I mean? But like,
right. Yeah,
we're getting those kind of people popping up here with from the
right.
CEO, the healthcare company, to the two on the president, to this. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting times. Yeah, Spy though. Man, it's just strong, consolidating. 600 is a problem. I'm very interested in what you got over there with, we figured when we got back to 600 we would get some more bullish numbers. I traded upside, so I'm more worried about that. Zoom in a little bit here. Probably should pull up on the big one, but the 5075, or excuse me, 575 is the 50 SMA. So as long as the downside stays above that, I think we said 85 to, or no, it was 75 to 95 was kind of the range, but we've been topping out of
Yeah.
that the last 2 weeks. So um, we're kind of in a grinder phase here for me. The only thing scaring me right now is we're going into summer. Summer's notoriously slow.
Uh, yes, and I mean, honestly, on my end, it is a little slow in that I don't have a lot of new numbers for you. It's the 620 600C. So that's this week. It's 580C, 600C. Um, where are they going to roll that? What's the new number that's going to pop up? And so that's going to happen. That's going to happen this week. And so that's kind of the main thing that I'm looking for. They're still over 100% up on 600C, even with the data and bleed out and all that. But they've been using this one, moving in and out of it, to honestly put a lid on the spikes to the market. Like they're kind of holding it back a bit. And then my downside number, this 550 October is about it. And what really for 550 for October to me actually says something more like 565 or thereabouts, given the time to expiration on it.
Yeah, it's just kind of trying to predict the story because yours says pullback or grind, and for me,
Yeah.
we do. You kind of you always want to know where you came from, know where you're going, and we just hit a home run on the start of the year that we were going to get pulled back in the Mag 7 or whatnot, um, which obviously drug down Spy. If we get any sort of pullback in Spy, it's going to have to be those secondary names, And then for me, you go look at like the secondary names in Spy, and I just don't see it coming from there. So,
Yeah.
like, what, like if we got a seven, where would that come from? I just don't see where that would come from, and that's why I just don't see the downside. Especially with this like kind of news test we got this weekend. Um, I'd have to look at the chart. Let me look at a chart real quick so I don't pull a number out of my ass. But like, are we waking up at 585 tomorrow? If we don't, it's bullish. Like
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
not 585 by the time you look at your phone in the morning, you clean the sleep out of your eyes. Like there's no way we're testing any kind of 560, 550, 570. That's just not happening. Um,
Right.
so yeah,
No, and that's a
go
good
ahead.
point. That uh, people I think forget this sometimes. Spy is comprised of stocks, so they have to do something for
Yeah,
Spy itself to just start selling off. I mean, I saw like people got a little bit burned on Apple because for whatever reason they're like, well, Apple's having an event, so it's bullish. Apple events
are never bullish.
basically since Jobs are like, hey, here's our new emojis. Here's our name for something people have been doing for a long time. Hey, we're getting rid of the headphone jack. I mean, it's like,
It's a slightly
here's
darker gray.
and and I think too, and like I'm a pretty big Apple user,
Same.
for all and it used to be like even upgrades to laptops used to be a bigger deal when they used Intel chips in terms of performance gains. So these new Apple chips are very good, but the difference between an M2 laptop and an M4 laptop are negligible. I mean, you have to be pushing some pretty heavy 4K video
Flows,
to
yeah.
even notice, and it's like, hey, this is going to encode 3 minutes faster. But day to day, they're well built, very snappy, and all of that. But so you don't get a big move on some new product category. Your iPhone moment. They had the headsets. We both had the same attitude on the headsets, and it seems like the public is not. Nobody wants to walk around with those things on, and so that's not really much of a mover either. But what Apple is, it's like a big barometer for the market. It's I posted an entry on Apple, you know, weeks ago when things were just selling off like crazy because I'm just like, I mean, no, it's not. It's not going to stay down at $180. Forget it. It's going to go to 300 someday. So you just buy it down here. But point being, there isn't some big bear case that's going to take it down either. Semiconductors. I said a long time ago, this is a national security issue now, and when you have that, there's a limit to how much those are going to fall. You're not Nvidia is not going to $60. You had a great chance in the 90s. That was like, I don't want to call it generational, but might be, and it was in a two-digit price, and that's not going to happen very often. So there was your moment there. But no, I'm with you on that, and I don't see put leaps or anything that's going to make me think get some massive pullback. I think, like, to me, my read of it is whales aren't looking to stick their neck out right now, but that they're forced to a little bit with this 620 expiration coming up. So I'm going to have a better upside number for September after this week. So we'll revisit this convo next week, and I'll have something for you.
Yeah, I mean, then just bump up what you just said. Those names you're mentioning, they're 5% to pull a number out of the fund. The
Yep.
secondary names I'm talking about are usually like 1% or less
Right.
of the
Right.
fund. So you're gonna need like six of those to have a really shitty
Yeah.
time. And I mean, unless you see like a Deere and a Netflix and a Lilly, and Intel dropping, Home Depot, Palantir, stuff like that, Disney, McDonald, just some some bricks and mortar of the market really failing. I just don't see those numbers coming into fruition
Yeah.
at all. And Which leads me to believe that, okay, well, what do we do? Oh, I mean, tell me there's nothing there. All right, well, we're gonna stay in this grinding, stuff, basically just making up what they lost in the market pullback in the firework market and sectors. So I think that's when our work shows a little better because people don't even look at that stuff. They don't
Yeah.
until it does make that 40% pre-market move, and they're deciding to buy it where we were in it and already up 10% before that 40% move.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think people, you know, calling up a mega cap chart now and trying to be like, oh, I'm going to get some big short entry on this. I wouldn't really mess with that.
You're
Maybe
not
it's
him.
Netflix, Facebook. Yeah, yeah. Someone will be able to short this, but it won't be you. That's kind of usually my take on those.
Yeah, yeah. All right, you ready to get to work, P?
Yeah, yeah, let's do it.
Perfect. Like and subscribe. Link somewhere, people.